Good morning. Welcome to our devotional series to Love as Jesus Loved. This morning we'll be looking at the characteristic of love entitled Beareth all things. Do you know that love or charity beareth all things? What's that mean? When we talk about love bearing all things, we mean that love will cause us to silently, patiently hold up under heavy loads. That's what it means to be patient, to bear up under something, to continue to stand firm. It's kind of like a donkey, and you have a man loading a pack on this donkey's back, and he keeps adding more and more to the donkey's back. The donkey just stands there firm. He doesn't kick it off. He doesn't complain. He just stands and takes the increased load that is placed upon him. That's what it means when we say charity beareth all things. It's the idea of patiently being willing to bear whatever burden the Lord might place upon us, whatever trial or heartache we may have to face in life, to patiently bear up under that without giving up our faith, without turning our back on the Lord and complaining to Him and accusing Him of evil doing. It's that type of idea. Where do we find that illustrated in the life of Christ? In Mark 14:32 through 42, we find an event that clearly showed the Lord's patience on display. His patience when He was faced with opposition and discouragement. He continued on. And again, folks, we know throughout Christ's life we have different examples of this, but for this morning I would like us to look at what took place in the Garden of Gethsemane as the Lord went to pray before His arrest and crucifixion. If you notice, it says, "And they came to a place which is called Gethsemane, and He saith to His disciples, Sit ye here while I pray. And He taketh then Peter, James, and John, and began to be sore amazed, and to be very heavy, and saith unto them, My soul is exceeding sorrowful unto death. Tarry ye here and watch." Now, folks, please get this. The Lord takes His 12 apostles to Gethsemane as He's ready to pray before His arrest and His crucifixion. By the way, the 11 apostles, Judas wasn't a part of this group. He takes the 11 apostles to Gethsemane. But on top of that, out of the 11, then He chooses His inner circle. It's what people commonly call Peter, James, and John. They seem to be the apostles that were the closest to the Lord relationship-wise. He takes them farther into the garden with Him, and He gives them a very simple instruction. Tarry here and watch. He opens up His heart to them and tells them, My soul is exceeding sorrowful unto death. He lets them know He needs their prayers. He lets them know the condition that He's in. And then all He asks them to do in response is, Tarry ye here and watch. We know He goes forward, He prays to the Lord, He comes back, and what happens? He cometh and findeth them sleeping. He saith unto Peter, Simon, sleepest thou? Couldst thou not watch 1 hour? Folks, He could have tore into them. He didn't. He kindly asked them, Couldst thou not watch 1 hour? And then He tells them again, Watch ye here and pray, lest ye enter into temptation. The spirit truly is ready, but the flesh is weak. Okay, He goes again and He prays. When He returned, He found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy, neither wist they what to answer Him. Boy, they were caught. If I can use the term, their hands were in the cookie jar. They had fallen asleep a second time. They didn't even have an answer for Him why they fell asleep. They had no good excuse whatsoever. Again, I say, the Lord could have just tore into them, but He didn't. He cometh the third time and saith unto them, Sleep on now and take your rest. So a third time this happens. At this point in time, His prayer time is over with. He knows the arrest is soon to take place. What's He say? Take your rest. It is enough. The hour is come. Behold, the Son of Man is betrayed in the hands of sinners. Rise up, let us go. Lo, He that betrayeth me is at hand. Do you know the amount of pressure that Christ was facing right then? Man, He could have just flown off the handle. He could have said, Look, all I ask you to do is pray for me. Do you realize what's going to take place in my life? All I ask was for you to pray. You fall asleep 3 times. But He didn't. He kindly dealt with them in the midst of it all. Folks, do we ever have people in our life that discourage us? Do you ever have people that just downright let us down? We think that we have somebody we can count on and we can rely upon, and we go to them for some type of help, and they let us down. Christ had this happen with Peter, James, and John, and yet you know what? He patiently bore under that increased discouragement. What he was going through at the time, even just set apart Peter, James, and John from it, just to think what he was facing, his arrest, his trial, his crucifixion, he knew those things were coming. Can you imagine how discouraged he must have been? Then on top of it all, you got Peter, James, and John and what they did. What horrible discouragement that must have been for the Lord. And yet we can see him patiently, gently work with them even in the midst of all that discouragement. Folks, he loved them. He was willing to bear up under all things. That even in this case, some of the things they actually caused themselves. May we all have that type of attitude as we enter into our day. Thank you for joining with me.